Hey guys, welcome to the story-worthy Hour of Power. My name is Blackburn, and I'm so excited you guys could join us tonight. I gotta tell you, this show, we've only been doing 3 weeks now, but it gets better every single time. So really, thank you for joining us, for supporting live entertainment. I know there's a lot of bad stuff going on right now in our world. It's a tricky time to be around, but thank you guys really for sharing at least 1 hour here with the story-worthy Hour of Power. And trust me, we'll make it worth your while. I want to wait just one more second while people are parking. Okay, there you go. Looks like they're parked. That's great. All right, we're going to start the show right away. And I got to tell you, this first guy, I love him so much. I've known him for quite a while, and he's just a quality person and a quality writer and a quality comedian and a hell of an actor, you guys. He's from Hawaii. I always think that's interesting. I don't know why, but I do. I think it's interesting. And he's also been on a lot of different television shows like The Big Bang Theory, Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, Big Love, and he has done 3 comedy albums. One of my favorites is American, and he's just a really, really swell guy. So you guys, wherever you are, please put your hands together for Matt Knudsen.
Hey, thank you so much, Christine. I am super excited to be here. I've always been a big fan of yours and the story-worthy dynasty. I really appreciate. So I'm actually coming to you guys from Santa Monica. I'm in my office here, and I just thought I'd use this moment to kind of check in. I didn't do this before. I actually live in Santa Monica on 18th and Montana, so we're actually going to do a live check-in. Everything seems pretty chill for now, which is great. I actually did go down and protest today. I was a part of the people marching on Ocean in Montana. And I never really felt threatened or worried until I started walking home. And I noticed that they had started to board up some of the shops here on Montana. And I never really was worried until I started seeing them board up the Chicos. If they start to board up the Chicos, you know, shit might be getting pretty real. So fingers crossed, stay home, stay safe. Fortunately, I have a lot of experience in staying home. I've been doing it exclusively for almost 2.5 months. So I am grateful to be here. I love Hollywood. Even being here has been a dream come true. Figure I'd take a quick second to say how much I appreciate it. It's led to everything that's ever happened to me happened because I moved here. So just some of my favorites from The Office. This is a picture of me with Dick Van Dyke and Dick Van Patten. I have both of the Dick Vans of entertainment. And, you know, I may never win an Oscar, but that feels pretty good. I'm also happy to share that I have actually run the Los Angeles Marathon 8 years in a row. I can't believe that's also true. Last camera shaky thing. Here we go. There they are. Not very athletic, but I still lace them up and do it anyway. That said, please note that I did not say I've completed 8 LA marathons. Here's what happened. Ran the first one, it went great. But then I had to run the second one because, the third one because of what happened the second one. Basically, the second one I was running, I was feeling good. I was at mile 25 and a half. I was 10 blocks from the finish line. That is when I had a heat stroke. I blacked out and I woke up in the back of an ambulance. And I don't remember any of this. I didn't have that pinhole, woozy, I'm going down. It went from running to absolutely nothing, right? And when I woke up, I was in the back of an ambulance, but to be honest, I thought I was being kidnapped. I don't know if you've ever had a fake kidnapping experience before, but it was pretty terrifying. All I remember was I was laying flat on my back. I was obviously being driven somewhere, and some guy that I did not know, wearing all dark clothing, was hovering a foot above my head. Hey, buddy. Looks like you're finally coming too. Welcome back. And I had never had this experience before, or this epiphany, until I was in this moment. But I realized that when people are trying to help you and people are trying to hurt you, they really say a lot of the same things. Just try and relax. Everything's going to be just fine. Does anyone know where you are right now? I'm going to have to cut your clothes off. And that's exactly what they did. They took those scissors like in the ER with the bent edges and cut all my clothes off. I'm being shuttled to the hospital in my underwear. When I got into the emergency room, I had a core temperature of 104 degrees. That is like my body, like organs were stewing inside my body like a crock pot. So they actually put 4 liters of iced saline in me that gave me the kind of diarrhea that made a medical professional say, oh boy. She went to med school and she was horrified. So after about 8 hours, I was able to get discharged. My wife came to pick me up. And I don't know if you've ever ran 25.5 miles and laid flat on your back for 8 consecutive hours. But when I got up, I had the legs of a newborn colt. They're just I felt like Snoop Dogg, like I was kind of like crib walking, that kind of thing. So we get out. I'm in my wife's car. She's driving me home, and I go through the discharge paperwork. And this is when I found my favorite part of the story. And I don't remember any of this because I was in a blackout. But apparently, when I thought I was being kidnapped, according to the incident report, I became, quote, combative. I ripped the tubes out of my arms and I tried to overpower my captors. Fortunately, I failed. I was subdued and sedated, but it's nice to know that if I'm ever in that fight or flight moment, most people don't know how they're going to react in that moment, but I do. So I sleep great every night when my head hits the pillow, knowing that if my life is ever on the line, be it real or even imagined, I'm not going down like a bitch, which is great. So that's my LA marathon story. I love you, Christine. Thank you, everyone. Mwah.
Hey, hooray, that was fantastic. Thank you, Matt.
Thanks, buddy.
I'm such, I guess I'm a narcissist because I ran in my bedroom and I was looking for my marathon medal. I ran one, but it was like 21 years ago. And you know what, man, that is off the bucket list. Never again. It impresses me to no end. And you do it for charity as well, Matt, which is so kind of you. You do so much work for the Red Cross, right?
Children's Hospital.
Oh, Children's Hospital. That's great.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah. I did a show one time, and Christine, I did a benefit at the Improv, and God bless Christine Blackburn. She came out and helped facilitate the event, and it was a tremendous success. So I really appreciate that.
Oh, you're so sweet. I think I wore an apron and I was selling lottery tickets or something going on.
Yeah.
It's always something for sure. Anyway, you guys, this is so much fun. I have 3 more storytellers coming up for you guys, which is going to be great. Now, last week I was telling you guys about my life as a flight attendant and how I became a flight attendant. And I talked about going through the training and everything and how ridiculous it was. And so I thought I will give you guys another flight attendant story. There are 3 total. There's actually probably thousands, but there's 3 that I like to share. And this one happened right after I got off probation. So I was still on probation, actually. Yeah, because you finished training. So it was right after training, and then you're on probation for like 7 months. And one day I was working first class, and I was flying from New York JFK's airport to West Palm Beach. Now, a lot of people think that the senior flight attendants work first class. You know what I mean? But actually, it's not that fun, and it's very demanding. And so the senior flight attendants will pass it down to newbies like myself. And when you're the lead flight attendant, you have to you're responsible for, everybody, all the passengers, the manifest, the other flight attendants, and you're responsible for the guys in the cockpit or the people in the cockpit. And for example, I remember this one pilot. I met him at the beginning of a 4-day trip. And the first thing he said to me is, come on in here. And I go in the cockpit, and he goes, let me show you something. And he gets out this paint chip, and it's got like colors of brown, shades of brown. And he says, you see this one? And it's circled. And I go, what? And he goes, that's how I like my coffee. That's the color of my coffee. That's what I want right there. I'm like, oh, that's going to be fun. This is going to be a great 4 days. Woohoo! All sorts of crazy things happened. Like one time I was working and I glanced to my left and there was a couple snorting cocaine off the tray table. Whatever. And one time I was working in first class, like I said, and this woman comes up between the curtains. There used to be curtains between first class and coach. She comes up between the curtains and she whispers in my ear, excuse me, stewardess, Mr. Klein in 5C, he just passed away. I'm sorry, what? Mr. Klein in 5C, I'm his nurse, he's dead. So I don't remember, this in my training, and I'm not on probation and I don't want to screw up. So before I even tell the pilots, I go and I look in my bag where I keep my emergency manual. And yes, in fact, there is a situation that if somebody dies, and this is what they want you to do. They want you to pretend like nobody died. That's the first thing. So you're supposed to just, basically ignore the situation. They tell you to take an oxygen bottle back to the person, put it around their nose and mouth. They tell you to put a blanket in their lap, and they say just act normally, and then tell the pilots. So I get the oxygen bottle, and I get a blanket, and I walk back into coach between the curtains. And folks, I'm no doctor, but when I saw that guy, I knew he was dead, like really, really dead. And so I say to the nurse, could you help me with this oxygen mask? And so she's helping me like basically strap this mask around the guy's, dead head. And I'm like, hey, Mr. Klein, how you feeling? Yeah, I heard you're not feeling well, so I brought you some oxygen. Yeah, okay, great. And how about a blanket? Yeah, I got a blanket here. And sure enough, like nobody caught on the plane. I was such a good actress. And nobody caught on, and I even turned a little air thing on the guy. And then I go up to tell the pilots. And these guys are not, they're not even the least bit concerned. Like they're just like, we'll let the ground know, and that's it. We'll alert the ground. And so we just flew to West Palm Beach, and we landed, and I figured that, we would let all the passengers off the plane, get them off as fast as we can, and then we'd get the dead guy out. But that's not the way it works at US Air. Some people, by the way, called it US Scare. That's not the way it works. The way it works is, okay, we taxi to the gate, and the jetway comes out, and these 2 paramedics come rushing onto the plane with a straight back chair. and they continue the entire ruse. So they wheel it back through the aisles to 5C, through the curtains, and they continue. Oh, hey, Mr. Klein, we heard you're not feeling well. We're just going to put you in this chair here. And he's like kind of lolling about, and they put him in the chair, and then they take these straps and they strap him around his arms, and they strap him in the chair, and they wheel him off. And, look, I am not, I'm not going to ruin the party. I'm just going to let it go. And I just say, bye-bye, Mr. Klein. It was nice having you aboard. Take care. There you go. I hear the applause. I hear it. Wow. Awesome. Yeah, I flew for over 7 years. So it was a big part of my life. I can't imagine how it is now and what that's like. I understand, like, no food, no beverages, no nothing. And here's something real quick. I'm going to tell you one more thing. When I was a flight attendant, there were no credit cards or debit cards used. It was only cash. You know what I mean? So you'd be, as a flight attendant, you'd be collecting money all the time. You'd be on a 4-day trip. You'd be on 15 planes, and you're collecting this money, $3, $4, and you're putting it in your pockets. And by the end of the trip, you could have over $1,000 easily. And I'm not saying the flight attendant steal, but there's a guy in Marina Del Rey that's been flying for like 25 years, and he has a boat called Headsets. So, all right, you guys, this next performer coming to the stage, she's so super talented. I love her so much. She's a writer, and she's well known on the spoken word circuit, really all over the country. And her essays have appeared in Reader's Digest, The Best Life Stories. I'm sure my sisters have heard of you. My sisters love Reader's Digest. There's Reader's Digest. My mom's home is just like filthy with Reader's Digest. You can't swing a dead cat in my sister's house without hitting a Reader's Digest. Betty has also been featured in the book What Was I Thinking? And 58 Bad Boyfriend Stories. And she also blogs on the Huffington Post. And she's a Moth Story Slam winner. And she's amazing. Please, you guys, wherever you are, put your hands together for Betty Goldstein.
When I was a baby, my first word was boop. So mommy gave me the nickname of Betty Boop. For as long as I can remember, mom gave me Betty Boop themed gifts for every birthday, holiday, and graduation. By the time I reached middle age, I had outgrown my need for Betty Boop, but those Boop-a-Doop tchotchkes just kept on a-coming. A year before mom died, she gave me something a little bit different. The Betty. What is the Betty? The Betty is colorant for the hair down there. In other words, pubic hair dye. According to the box, the Betty comes in 5 spectacular colors: Black Betty, Brown Betty, Auburn Betty, Blonde Betty, and Fun Betty. And that's what I got, the Fun Betty. It's neon pink. I placed the gift in the back of my bathroom cabinet behind 1,000 rolls of Costco toilet paper, where it remained forgotten for years. One day, while I was standing naked in front of the mirror, admiring my girlish attributes, I noticed a white pube. So I plucked it out with a tweezer. Ouch. I grabbed a hand mirror for a more detailed inspection and found more whites, a lot of them. Oh no, I'm too young to be gray. Suddenly, I remembered mom's gift. So I decided to surprise my hubby with a Betty makeover. Maybe for once, mom gave me a gift I could actually use. I ripped open the package, eager to get started. Like a surgeon, I donned the plastic gloves, got into position, and thoroughly lathered the Betty all over my magic triangle. Then I set the timer for 30 minutes. Like a flamingo, I perched on one foot, with the other resting on the rim of the bathtub for ventilation. While I waited for the color to take, I skimmed the 100-page instruction manual written in 6 languages. There were illustrations on how to trim your Betty and a stencil kit to transform your Betty into a heart or a butterfly or a lightning bolt. Then I read the warning page. Not for internal use. Avoid contact with the labia. Uh-oh. It started out as a tingle. Then it grew into a prickly sensation, followed by a searing burn. I leapt into the shower and practically stood on my head to achieve continuous irrigation. The water made it burn even more. My skin was so raw, I was not able to use a towel down there, so I let it air dry. I reached for a hand mirror to survey the damage. Oh my God, what have I done? It was time for a visit to urgent care. I was in too much pain to put on my Betty Boop bloomers, so I threw on a muumuu and drove to the hospital commando. The doctor came in and asked, "What brings you here, Mrs. Goldstein?" I was too embarrassed to explain, so I gingerly raised my hospital gown. As the doctor examined my acutely tender mound of Venus, he said, "Your vulva is a disaster area." These are not the words any woman wants to hear. Whatever possessed you to do such a crazy thing? It was a gift from my mommy. When my husband came to bed that night, I told him, "Please don't touch me down there. It's a long story." He lifted my gown and took a look and said, "Jesus F. Christ, woman, your bush glows in the dark." Since that time, whenever I find a gray hair down there, I think fondly of Mother. It brings a tear to my eye and a sting to my lip. Thank you.
Wow, that's a great story. Betty, man, you have a way with words and descriptions. I think that is probably what makes you such a good writer and a playwright. I know you've done a play as well. Thanks, Betty. You make me laugh. You're so funny. Listen, I've been told that I'm blurry, and that's not my fault. I think it's the camera. I think it's my camera. Sorry about that. I need a new computer. Again, can you believe it? I feel like I always need a new computer. What is that? Why is that? Like every 3 years, that's not enough? Matt, you know what I'm talking about. Larry, you're in the world. You know. All right, you guys. Oh, I'm so excited this next girl's on the show. She's been on Storyworthy a few times, and she's just a delight. We've spent time outside of just Storyworthy as well, and she's just always a wonderful person to be with, and I'm really glad she's here. She is a spiritual coach. She's also a speaker and a podcaster and a parenting expert for Deepak Chopra's Global Wellbeing app. What in the what? She also sells beautiful jewelry. I know that. You guys, please put your hands together for a great talent and my friend, Leigh Koechner.
So much for that. And I find you delightful as well, Christine Blackburn, and I'm honored to be here. My bones felt like they shattered February 1st, 2019. That was the day my husband moved out. And I felt like it was shattering because I'd met him 22 years earlier on an airplane. And I was 30 years old, and I've been waiting a long ass time to meet my man. And we sat on the airplane, and I looked in his eyes, and we started talking. And it was the first time I locked eyes with another human being where I felt at home. I was like, oh my gosh, you're the guy. I've been waiting for you for 30 years. I'm so happy you're here. I just had all these big emotions, and I'd never experienced that before. So we were together ever since that night from the airplane. We got engaged 9 months later. We got married 9 months after that. And we have 5 kids together. But of course, for us, because we're both a bit unusual, it was in an unusual way. With my first pregnancy with my son, Charlie, I started hemorrhaging and they took me to the hospital and they C-sectioned my son out and they said, you have a healthy baby boy. And I was like, Dave, go follow him, because I heard that they swap babies. And they were like, no, you need to stay with her. And so Dave stayed with me, and 3 hours later and 7 pints of blood transfused, they said, we got to take your uterus out because we got your blood to clot, but you're still losing blood from there. I was like, take it out, because it was just a horrible experience. So anyway, a year later, David and I were looking into adopting, and our doctor said, I left your ovaries, so you can take your eggs and David's man juice, as I like to call it, make embryos and incubate them in someone else's body. Now this was a trip because this was 20 years ago, and only Joan London had done it, but Dave took out a mortgage and we did it. We made embryos, and 2 women carried my next 4 children. Everything for Dave and I has been very interesting, and you hear stories about people get married and their kids are so awesome and everything's blah. But I found out that is just so not true, because we looked super awesome on the outside. We have a beautiful family, all of this, but there's of course chaos going on the inside. Our 5 kids are so unique and different, and a few of them have struggles. And when you have a kid that's just gets along easy and goes along easy, it's still a lot to parent. But then when you have 3 with kind of struggles, it's taxing on them, on you and your marriage. But David and I were able to work together and navigate it to take care of our kids, and which is pretty awesome because it was pretty stressful. Something I love about David is that he makes me laugh. He makes me laugh my ass off. When I met him on that airplane, I didn't know that he was on Saturday Night Live, but the first time I saw him, because I didn't watch that show, but the first time I saw him was in Beer Shark Mice. He was in a show with a bunch of guys in Chicago, and they all moved to LA, and they did this improv group together, and it was magical. And I would go every Saturday night and watch him before we were married, after we were married, after we had a bunch of kids, and just laugh my ass off and cry. It's like, I love those guys so much, and David just cracked me up. And after we were married for a while, he was doing a show called The Naked Trucker and T-Bones, and he has this amazing character named T-Bones, and he would get up on stage. You know, we would have a fight or something, and we'd not speak the whole way to watch him perform. And then I'd get in my booth and get my cocktail, and then he'd stand up there and be like doing his thing and rubbing his belly, and I would just start crying, laughing. And it was so wonderful because I remembered, I could go back to remembering why I loved him in the first place and what a great person he was when I got to get out of the craziness of home or fighting about stuff. So I held this belief my whole life that when you met someone and you got married, you stayed together forever. Now, I got this belief from my father, who stayed with my mother. She was mentally ill, and I was always like, that's not what God meant, Dad. When he said stay together, you guys aren't a couple. She needs help. So anyway, I still held that belief, and I found when I thought about other couples, I'm like, oh, they just didn't try hard enough. That was kind of my thinking. And then I have found over time that every single thing I have judgment about, God gives me a situation to let me experience it so I can see the other side. So I'm going to, after this kind of divorce thing I'm going through right now, I'm not going to judge anyone for anything because I'm done learning my lessons. But I got my master's in spiritual psychology a few years back. And it was unbelievable because I learned how to stop my crazy spinning brain. I learned how to stand guard of what went in my mind, and I only let positive things in, and friends who were toxic or relationships who were toxic organically fell away as I kept on the spiritual path. And I remember going up and I kept evolving and looking down at David and going, get up here. It's amazing up here. And he was like, not interested in your spiritual bullshit. And I just kept going. And our relationship got rocky about 6 years ago. But you know, when you're in something so deep that it's like gray matter, you're not clear on what's happening. You're just in it. And I just remember trying so hard to keep everyone together and make everything work and da 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 da. And then all of a sudden I looked and David was down. I couldn't see him. And I looked down, I was like, David, I used to say, get up here and join me. But I couldn't see him literally, like he had gone down a hole. And the last few years of our marriage, I just felt like I was reaching up and trying to pull someone up who didn't want to be pulled up. But I had to exhaust myself till I finally got it. My thoughts about marriage now are that you can't be in a marriage, I mean, in a real partnership and joy and happiness if someone has sat down, because you're no longer in partnership. You're no longer moving forward together. You're no longer equally yoked, if you will. So that's shifted for me. And although this thought in my head that we have to stay together forever because that's what, I had to let that go and go, no, he's out. In 2019, he's out. And I remember when he left that day, I was on the couch crying, like balled up in the guest house crying. We had just built a podcast set to do together, a podcast called Double Date with the Koechners, and we're going to interview celebrity couples. And I was laying on the podcast couch and just bawling. And I've been bawling for the last 5 years. I really felt all the pain that was going down. And I remember, I think I'm cried out. Like, I think I've let all the pain pass through me. And I sat up, put my feet on the ground, and then I stood up. And I looked down at the foundation of what I thought my life was built on, being David Koechner's wife, and it was gone. But then I noticed my feet planted firmly on the ground. And I touched my knees, and I came up to my thighs and my midsection, my shoulders and my head. And I looked up and I go, oh, I'm still standing. God, what do you have planned for me? What do you have planned that I couldn't have done if I stayed as David Koechner's wife? And I just feel like a huge opening happened. I'm hearing crunching, but I'm just going to keep going. So I feel like this big opening happened for me where my thought was gone, but I was still standing, and it was empowering. And I realized that David's unconditional love set me on my healing path in life, because I was really guarded and partying hard and wild, but his unconditional love allowed me to start to heal. And then his unconditional love catapulted me forward when it was time for me to go, onto my own path. And so from a spiritual perspective, I'm so grateful to David. I love him with all of my heart, and I will forever, just in a new way now. And I want to thank my deep gratitude for David. And I'm in deep gratitude for the universe having my back, even though when I fought because I didn't want it to happen, it happened. And now I can see that it is for my upliftment and growth. And I'm in gratitude for you guys for listening today, and for Christine for having me. So just remember, although things might look grim, there's a big ass reason and something good's coming from it. Thank you.
Wow, you guys, how great is that? See, there you go. That's what storytelling can do. You can't get that at a comedy club. No way, no how. You know what I'm saying? Leigh, I am so thrilled for you. Look at that. You have so much clarity, and it's amazing how far you've come in 1 year. You should be unmuted.
Muted. Christine, I just want to say, I'm doing this online course called For the Love of Divorce, because it's the first time I've been knocked on my ass.
Yeah.
I got from feeling the pain to curiosity, and I skipped suffering. And I was so excited about it because I've suffered over shit for so long. I was like, no, I got the spiritual perspective that this was all for my well-being and for his path. And then I got to get into curiosity. Okay, why did this happen? How did I contribute to the marriage so I don't do it in my next relationship? And what am I to do now? And it's been an incredible journey, and we're still navigating. It's on hold because of the pandemic, and he's not working and all that kind of stuff. So it's on hold, but we're moving forward with divorce, and it's amazing to be in loving, and in my loving for myself, taking care of myself, and for David, regardless of what's going down.
And so what's your Tinder address? I'm kidding.
It's
Come on, you guys.
It's
What is it?
Koechner.
You're so funny. You're beautiful. You crack me up. Okay, you guys, check it out. We have one more storyteller coming up right now. And then after, I'll say goodnight, but we're not really going anywhere. That's when we get into the after show. So stick around. We'd love to have you join us. That would be amazing. All right, you guys, this performer, he's fantastic as well. He's been on Story Smash. I don't think, did you win? I can't remember if he won, but he should have. You're so good. You did win. Yeah, he won. He won. He knows what my chocolate chip cookies taste like. Anyway, you guys, this guy is amazing. He is an actor and a filmmaker. He has a fabulous movie on right now. I just saw it recently. It's called 3 Days with Dad. And it was so good. Brian Dennehy is in it, actually, the late Brian Dennehy, and he recently passed away. And boy, that must have been hard for you, now that I'm thinking of it. Anyway, both this guy and his wife, Fielding Edlow, are both super talented. They have a little show that they do together called Bitter Homes and Gardens. So it's about a married couple, and they're both bitter. They're both bitter, very funny, super sarcastic, and the hilarity ensues. All right, you guys, wherever you are, put your hands together for Larry Clarke.
I'll unmute myself. Yay. Can everybody hear me? Yeah? Am I live? Hi, everybody. It was so great to hear everyone's story. Wow. Everyone was just great. And now it makes me want to tell a different story, but I'm going to stick to my original idea. I told Christine I would do a bear story. Okay. And I don't think I've told this story publicly. So watch out. I'll jump right in. So before about half an hour ago, I looked up a couple of things, just a little bit of research. One was I looked up The Revenant, because when I saw that with Leonardo DiCaprio, remember that bear scene when he gets eaten by a bear? Oh my God, it's a fake bear. It's a CGI bear, but it's an unbelievable 4 minutes of a bear chomping on him. And this is my Revenant story. Okay. I didn't, of course, it was not with a grizzly. That's an 800-pound grizzly. This was, though, a black bear in Yosemite. And then I also looked up, I Googled, how many bears are in Yosemite? And there's about 300 to 500 black bears in Yosemite Valley. And I had an encounter with one of them. Now, if you go to Yosemite, if anyone ever been there before, it's amazing hiking, and I've been there a bunch of times. And this happened like 10 years ago. I kind of haven't been back since. But not that I'm really afraid of the bears after this, but you'll see. But bears are everywhere. Black bears, if you go there, they're all over the place. They're walking around. You'll see them by the side of the road. They're very used to human beings. And at night, they come out and they eat trash. And you'll hear them being scared away from the camps. And I stayed of course, I didn't rough it and stay in a tent. I stayed in a place called Housekeeping, which is it's a tent city of sorts. And you'll hear people bang pots and pans, and then the bears literally come running over, and you'll see them run through it's actually frightening to see a 500-pound bear pass by your tent at around 8 o'clock at night in the middle of the wilderness, and you can't hear them. That's an important part of the story. Bears are huge, and they make no sound whatsoever, which is extremely frightening. Another thing about bears, when you get this close to a bear, they have little smiley faces. They're exactly like a teddy bear. They have a little smile under their nose. Okay, how did I get that close? I was putting away my bear box. I was putting food away in my bear box. I was with my brother. I was in my tent, and we had just hiked. We were pretty tired, so I wasn't thinking so great because I had just done Half Dome, which is a 21-mile hike. So I was a little kind of out of it. But we were putting our food way late. You're not supposed to be and these bear boxes are made of steel. Okay, so the bears can't get into them because bears don't have opposable thumbs. They go like that, so they can't open them up, right? But these bears are so goddamn smart. So anyway, this is my first part of the encounter. I'm putting away, I've just brushed my teeth. I'm down at the bear box. I'm outside my tent. I'm putting away my box. And as I go to close the door, my flashlight kind of turns to the side, and there's a big bear head right next to me. Okay. And it's a bear looking up at me over its shoulder. And I go, ah, and in a moment, it's just gone. And again, they're quiet. It's like, and I went, oh my God. And I went, Jerry, my brother, he was inside the place. I go, there's a bear around here. There's a bear. Oh, God. And I ran inside. I go, there's a bear. He goes, what is the bear? He immediately starts putting together a bear horn. All right, this is his first time really camping. He starts, and a bear horn is like, that's it. That's all it is. It's like the thing at the end of a basketball game. And he's trying to put that together, and I go, what are you doing? That's not how you get rid of a bear. You go up to bears and make yourself big, and you go, get out of here, bear. And I've done it before, and they usually run away. They're very easy. They're very skittish, and they'll take off. And I said, Jerry, I said, listen, I'm going to go outside. It's going to be fine. All of a sudden, we heard a crash. And I go, what the hell's that? And I got my flashlight, and I went outside, and right in front of me was this big-ass bear, same bear. This time, though, he had gotten into the other bear box, which we also did not close. And all of our food was on the ground. And there's this bear going, and he's eating our sausages. And that was our next day's food. And that pissed me off because he was eating our food. You know, I just had like an innate kind of animal response to that. Like, stop eating my food. And so I also, I had a strange sense of confidence. I stepped forward and I went, get out of here, bear. And the bear took off, right? And I kept the flashlight on him. And then he stopped running away. And I looked at all the food was all over the ground, and he stopped about 17 feet away, and he turned around. And I kept my flashlight on here, and I went, and I kept it trained on his face. And I'm like, get out of here, bear. I was not quite so loud the next time because a bear had just stopped and turned around. And then he started walking towards me like this. A bear. And now I'm saying, get out of here, bear. Like, it's just really, that fight and flight thing you were talking about, Matt, it just started to leave my body because I've never had a mammal that large walk towards me by myself in the middle of the wilderness. And he's walking slowly towards me like this. He's got this look on his face. And then he goes up on his legs and comes down and hits the ground. And he does it like this. And he goes, ah, 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 ah. He does this bear scream at me, whatever the hell it's called. It scared the hell out of me. And then he walked forward and I went, get out. And then I did everything you're supposed to hold your ground, man. Never give up ground. They're supposed to say this with gorillas in the wild. If they rush you, stand your ground. And they say this if you're in the wilderness, stand. I went, get out, and I fell backwards onto the ground. Like I crumpled, and I kept expecting for my revenant moment of him coming right from my jugular. I was, in retrospect, this bear was walking towards me because there was food all over the ground. He didn't care about me. He wanted to eat the food. So I wasn't thinking, right? So as I'm on the ground and I'm waiting for him to bite me, and I'm literally in one of the worst moments of my life, my brother comes jumping out of the tent with his bear horn and jumps over my body and goes, "Arr!" And the bear jumped about 20 feet in the air. This bear went, boop. It scared the fuck out of him. And the bear took off. The bear just disappeared. And so and then now the prologue, or the post-log. What is it, the post-log? Anyway. The next morning, I see a ranger. I tell him about the experience, thinking that he goes, and I'm trying to make it a big deal, like I am with you. And he goes, oh, yeah, that was Betsy. Yeah, and she's only 350 pounds. He goes, Betsy's been here for years. He goes, Betsy does that. Just the fake things they do. He goes, you just laugh at them, and they don't do anything. They just, and I felt like a small man. I felt like a very small man because I had gone through such a large experience. But it's still a bear story, and it's my revenant story. So anyway, that's all I got. Thank you.
That is so flippin' funny. That's a great story, Larry. And I never saw The Revenant. Is that it, Revenant? I never saw that movie. I need to see that. This is a perfect time. There's no time like the present than to watch The Revenant. Anything with Leo. Anyway, you guys, this has been so much fun. I'm so happy you've stuck around and watched all 5 storytellers. If you have any questions, we'll take them in the chat room right now. Anyway, you guys, everybody on the show I'm so impressed with. And like I said, they've all been on Storyworthy before, and hopefully they'll be on again. And I did want to let you guys know that this Tuesday, coming up on Storyworthy, is comedian Jill Kimmel. Jill Kimmel is a really funny girl, and another talent that I never thought I could have because she lives in Arizona. But now that this is the way it is, I'm able to have a lot of other talents on the show. So Jill Kimmel this Tuesday, don't miss that. My name is Christine Blackburn. I want to thank my producer, Alabama Bardos. Thank you, Alabama. Thank you. And really, you guys, thank you so much. Tell your friends, tell your neighbors. Storyworthy Hour of Power every Sunday night at 6 o'clock. Thank you so much.